Hey everybody, welcome to Pit Stops and Podium, the RevPartners podcast where we talk to execs who have competed and won, taking their companies from high growth to high scale. My name is Brendan Tollison. I am the co-founder and CEO of RevPartners, and I'm delighted to have with me today Phil Gerbyshak for this episode of Pit Stops to Podium. Welcome, Phil.
Hey, thanks, Brendan. It's great to be here, man.
It's nice to be here too. Hey, so Phil, I would love to start out our episode getting for our audience to get to know you a little bit. So, Phil, who are you? What do you do? And why are you on this podcast today?
So, I work with small businesses, small business owners, self-employed folks to help build their business with social selling, help them with, kind of those sales type of stuff. I help them with leadership video stuff and any of that technology, kind of the sales stack without being overwhelming. I think it's super important that we go simple as possible. And so I help with that messy middle. I don't do lead gen. I help with kind of everything after that. And as far as closing goes, right, if you do a good job in the middle, right, do a good job in discovery, you do a good job, helping the customer with solutions, they should be able to close themselves. So really that messy middle is my best part on that, whether it's via email, via video, or via telephone.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of deals go to die. And so if you can impact from a conversion perspective once they're in the funnel or the time, we talk a lot about conversion and time as it relates to what RevOps can do. But I think from a sales perspective, if you get that right, you're in business. So I'm sure our audience can really benefit from that. Phil, before we get into our big idea, which gets into some of your lessons around like sales, we like to get to know our guests outside of work. So Phil, what are 3 fun facts our audience should know about you?
Yeah. So first, got 3 dogs, I've got 2 kids, and I've got 1 wife. I always share it in that order because it's way more fun than 1, 2, 3. So, so with that, I'm a pinball wizard. I love pinball. I love to play it when I speak. That's typically my walk-on music from The Who. And I've been playing pinball since I was hanging out with my mom at the Middle Inlet Inn in the 70s. So I'm older, so I've done that. And then I love listening to audiobooks, especially when they're read by their author, and love listening to podcasts as well. Whenever I can hear an author that reads their book, especially if they're a podcaster, it's almost like they're coaching me one-on-one, and I love that.
Phil, what is the last podcast or audiobook that you listened to?
So I'll give you 2 here. So first, the last podcast I listened to is 30 Minutes to President's Club. Armand and Nick do a great job on their sales podcast. It's super actionable. It's almost too actionable. Listen to 1 episode, do the work there. And then as far as a book goes, nonfiction is what I focus on. And so I listened to Miracles and Wonder. It was Paul Simon and Malcolm Gladwell. It was fantastic. Oh, wow. Really great book. But if you want an escape, though, I just got to plug for this. It's Ender's Game Alive. So Orson Scott Card wrote the Ender's Game series. Ender's Game Alive has like 60 voice actors, and it is the most amazing audiobook I've ever heard. And the voice of Ender is hopefully going to be on my podcast sometime in 23.
That's very cool. Well, for somebody that doesn't like fiction, that's impressive that that's your favorite. So maybe you need to read more fiction.
Yeah, probably. I would say I need to relax more. I really love what I do, so it's hard to, it's hard to not be working or not be learning. So,
well, and for those that may be listening via audio versus video, I think it's fair to assume, Phil, that orange is your favorite color. Is that an accurate statement?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So orange is it, right? So orange phone case. I've got an orange wallet. I've got an orange chair. I've got an orange wall in my office. My next book will absolutely have an orange cover. And I was showing my sister-in-law this morning downstairs. We've got like 6 or 8 orange things just in the kitchen alone. And the funniest thing I have that's orange, I'll tell you, Brendan, is a little mini spatula that I ordered by mistake. It's little itty bitty. The head is maybe 1.5 inches big. I ordered 2 of them. One of them I snuck to my high school baseball coach, gave it to him. He gave it to his wife for Christmas. And it is the funniest thing. So, because I love kitchen gadgets. So, of course, I was looking for an orange kitchen gadget. Oh, yeah. Right. And my Apple Watch and my wedding band are all orange as well.
How does your family feel about this obsession with orange?
They're fine with it. I've actually convinced my little guy that he likes orange too. So it works out pretty well. So my wife, she loves me in orange and she loves me. So that's good. And my daughter is a teenager. So she just ignores me. It makes no difference what I wear.
All right. Well, Phil, thank you for sharing a little bit more about who you are. It's always fun to get to know our guests outside.
Yeah.
Well, let's transition to the big idea. And so I think this is relevant to what you do on a daily basis as a sales coach and really helping people in that messy middle that you talked about. And it's really how do you make them more effective? And so the big idea that we really want to park on today is like, how do sales reps or sales leaders, revenue leaders, whatever that title may be, invest more time in the sweet spot? And the sweet spot that we're talking about is that intersection between sales, leadership, and mindset. So before we kind of get into each one of those categories, I'd love for you to give that contextual layer as to what you mean by that intersection and why that's so important.
Yeah. So first of all, right. So everybody sells, everybody leads, and we got to get our head on straight first. Super important, right? So whatever we're doing, if our mind isn't right, it's going to be really hard to succeed. Now don't get me wrong. Everybody has bad days. Sometimes we even have bad weeks, bad months, bad quarters, bad years. That happens, right? But let's be honest. If we really want to succeed, we have to find a way to get our mind right. And it's not some Pollyannish, hey, everything's fine and the world is on fire behind us. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about get your mind right today, right now, so that you can move forward as quickly as possible. And with that, right, once we do that, we can sell, we can influence, we can persuade, we can work with people. With that, then we can lead, we can go first, we can be the person that people want to follow. But if we don't have any of that together, right, and they're not all three in alignment, that's why it's a Venn diagram, right? That sweet spot right there. If they're not all three going to overlap and align with each other, it's going to be a long day, a long week, a long month. So that's what I coach. That's what I train, and that's what I believe, and that's what I work on for me too. And it's work, right? It's work. This isn't magic. There's no silver bullet in sales leadership, or entrepreneurship at all. So we have to find a way to instead do the good work that we need to be the most effective and efficient.
Yeah, I like that. And it's interesting that you start, and let's go into mindset a little bit further to start out the session, because usually mindset is not what people start out with, but you're saying that's actually everything starts from that center. So help me understand, or help our audience understand. You kind of unpack that a little bit, but let's dive into a little bit further as to why does that need to be the first kind of building block as it relates to how it impacts sales and leadership?
Sure. So first, our head and our heart have to align, right? Let's get that right. So why we do what we do is super important. And that means our head aligns and our heart aligns with that. We have to feel good about what we do. We really do it, because if we don't, it makes it really hard. Now, with that, we have to think about, so what am I really doing here? What's the real outcome of what I have here? And what's my desired outcome? Now, some might say, if you're in sales, well, the goal is to sell things. And I would argue it's not. It's to solve problems. Yeah. That's what I love about sales. That's why I love to be a sales coach. That's why I've loved to sell in the past. I love to solve problems. I'm a problem solver. Now, sometimes the answer is me and my product or my service, for sure. And sometimes it's not. And I happily refer that away. Now, that also means, right, that I have to have my abundant mindset, right? I have to get my head straight and say, okay, well, Brennan, you might not be my ideal customer, and that's okay. I might have to be okay with the fact that, I might get 5 or 10 in a row that are not people that I can help. My friend Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton wrote a book called Go for No, right? Mm-hmm. And they're all about, right, go for the no and know that you're going to have more yeses if you don't go for it. Because hesitation, right, because our mindset is messed up, I'm not sure, or desperation, which means we get commission breath, neither of which are good things. Instead, be of service. And I'll tell you, for those reluctant salespeople, or those people that were thrust into sales and like, oh my gosh, I'm not even sure that I'm really a salesperson or leaders, right? I want you to replace the word sales with the word service. And I believe that to sell is to serve and to solve, right? To solve problems for folks. But first we have to, right, be of service, and we have to understand and take time to really get our head on straight.
I like that. I was going to ask you for a practical next step on that specific topic, but you kind of just hit it. So in terms of changing it from a sales to a service type of mindset. So I think it's a good actionable takeaway for our our audience. So let's transition. We talked about mindset. Let's get into leadership a little bit. So we got the building block of mindset. Now, how does that start to inform or impact or influence how you think about leadership?
Well, leadership first starts with you. You have to lead yourself first every time. Every time. So that means as a leader, you have to be the one that is passionate about self-development. You have to be the one that's listening to podcasts, that's reading books, that's reading articles, that's taking classes, that's doing things to stay sharp. Because otherwise, your team's going to rip past you and you're like, whoa, what happened? And if you're a sales rep, you have to be able to manage up. Because your sales manager has 8, 10, 12, 15 people underneath them. And with that, they don't know what you need unless you tell them. So it's your responsibility. It's your career. It's your business. You have to take some time. Lead yourself first. With that, you have to have the mindset that I'm going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to be better tomorrow than I was today. And I'm going to learn from all angles. So it doesn't matter your position. It matters that you're willing to grow, that you're willing to learn, that you're willing to expand, that you're open to feedback. Hey, you know what? I will tell you, I don't know everything. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So I seek out people to help me. And sometimes I have blind spots. I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I have a coach, right, that can help me with that. I've got a manager that can help me with that. I've got a leader that can help me with that and see those blind spots and say, Phil, you know what? You might not have seen this, but here you go. Here's some things. Now, with that, we have to be open to feedback. And if you're in a formal leadership position, you have to ask, are you looking for a solution here? Or are you just looking to vent? Either of which is okay, right? Because you know what? I think as leaders, sometimes we tell our team, well, don't come to me unless you have a solution. And I don't think that's true because we have to be able to vent. Nothing is perfect in sales. I'm not saying we spend time in the mud whining and complaining and just saying everything sucks. But as leaders, it's our job to listen to our team. You know what? Everything isn't going right. Yeah. And sometimes it's just about getting it out there, right? Because we flip too fast into solutions as leaders, and we whip too fast into solutions as sellers. So we have to slow down, lead ourselves first, and find out, are they looking, is it even time to propose a solution yet? Or is there still more that I need to get out of them? And that's, discovery is important, whether you're in sales or whether you're in leadership. And that's, getting curious. Michael Bungay-Stanier talks about that, right? Getting curiouser and curiouser and curiouser. That's my job as a leader and as a seller. So if I can do that, right? Again, a quick actionable takeaway for that is ask one more question. Yeah. Maybe you ask, tell me more. Maybe you say, explain that to me. Or maybe you ask them to describe it to me. Yeah. Go one more and you'll find out more about your people if you're a leader and more about your prospects if you're a seller. I really like that. Ask that one more question concept. And the themes that I heard you really capture there is humility, like curiosity, and initiative. And the people that lead themselves well have that humility where it reveals what they don't know. And the curiosity is a way to say, like, I don't know it, but I really want to improve or learn. And the initiative is like taking that action. And one of the things that we do even at our organization, we call it feedback as a gift when you talk about feedback. And it's this whole idea of like, hey, our desire is for you to grow and be better. And so the way in which we do that is actually to be open with you of, hey, sustains and improves, or like start, stop, continue. And it's a way to say, hey, here's what you're doing really well. Here's areas that we think you can be better at, in a way of we want you to be better versus like coming down on you. And when it's done right, it's actually very effective. But you have to be very careful about how you communicate and roll that out. Well, let's go into the third topic. So we talked about mindset, we talked about leadership, and now let's get into sales, or as you mentioned, kind of the idea of service. So how should we think about sales and the paradigm of this kind of intersection? Well, first, understand that you're always selling, which again, if we change that, right, we're always serving, right? If we flip that word, that I just fundamentally believe that's true. Our action or our inaction is of service and is of sale, we're selling. So with that, right, we want to be a person of influence as opposed to a person of persuasion. Yeah. The difference is influence means that, I'm certainly going to help you understand what that is. I'm going to share the best options with you. And sometimes, okay, I might lean my way on the solution for sure. But I'm not going to persuade you to buy anything you don't want to buy. Whether I'm leading you, I'm not going to give you my idea and pretend like you have to take it, right? That's persuasion. That's manipulation, right? I'm not going to use any sales tricks or language tricks to make that work. Instead, right, I'm just going to influence you, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons why it makes the most sense to make the decision you do that's in your best interest. Okay, that's in your best interest. Yeah. So that's the difference, right? Person of influence versus a person of persuasion. With that, in sales, you want to be I believe in value over volume. Value over volume. You don't have to be the loudest, and you certainly don't have to build the biggest pipeline. But as a sales rep, if you're a person of value, you will sell more. And value for our prospects means progress. When they take a call from us, if we can help them move forward their organization, help them move, more revenue, if we can help them solve more problems, right? That's progress. And they want that. And if I can help with that, I am now a person of value. And that's really important, right? Someone that I want to spend time with, even if they're not the solution, even if the product doesn't help with that, it's someone that I want to spend time with. I'm fortunate that I live outside Orlando, as we talked about, and I get people, they come here because Orlando is the convention capital of the world, besides maybe arguably Las Vegas. Yeah. And I get to spend time with them. And I always want to be a person of value. It's not just, hey, let's have a meal, but let's see if we can help each other in our business. I want to be a person of value, help them progress, right? So value over volume. With that, understanding that sales is nothing more than exchange of three things. First, an exchange of confidence. I have to believe that my product or solution is the one that will solve problems. Your problem specifically. If I'm not, the prospect will feel that. Yep. Secondly, it's an exchange of emotion, meaning, and maybe that's empathy, right? But typically the emotion is that I care about you and I care about your problems enough to share this with you, to offer you this. And then third, it's an exchange of energy. So as a sales rep or as a sales leader, right, we have to keep our energy level up. It's why physical fitness is important. It's why it's important that, we don't over caffeinate. Because if we're too energetic and we're just jangling, people are like, holy crap, who is this guy? Settle down. And if we're too sleepy, like Groupie or Eeyore, that's a problem too. So we have to be even. And I always tell my reps, right, the goal is not for you to be excited like me. The goal is for you to be excited like you. So get excited in your way, because you know that you're offering them a solution that's a value, and because you care about them. So they all intertwine there, much like sales leadership and mindset do.
Yeah, I think when I think about that exchange, we talk about confidence, emotion, and energy. It really, there's some components there that make a lot of sense. With the energy, it's really authenticity, like be yourself. And if you are yourself, then that will come through. The confidence kind of speaks into that whole piece where you're saying like persuasion. If you're confident what you're selling that it adds value, then you're leading from that perspective versus like forcing something into somebody that they don't want. And so I think those are really, and the emotion with the empathy is really kind of, to me, that's like the service kind of concept of really what's best for them versus what's best for me. And when you walk into those kind of conversations with that mindset, to your original point, inevitably you're going to be successful. It doesn't mean you're not going to have the bumps like you talked about at the very beginning, but sustained success over time is likely going to happen as a result of that. Well, Phil, this is really informative, and I really
hold on. Can I share how to get started on that one? Because we didn't share that, right? Action step. Right? So how do we get more confidence, more emotion, more energy, especially for starting out? Yeah. And the key to that is preparation and practice. So take the time to prepare for every conversation and then practice. I know most sales reps, most sales leaders hate role play. Well, stop calling it role play and start calling it practice. You know what? If Aaron Judge, who just signed a $350 million contract, if he can take batting practice and hit 62 home runs as a coach, as a rep, as a leader, why are you not taking sales practice? Why are you not taking coaching practice? Why are you not taking one-on-one practice? That's a role play. Get in there, prepare and then practice, because you'll perform way better. And that will give you the confidence and the energy and the emotion that you need to get your mindset back on right after you've been kicked in the teeth and you just lost a deal that you thought was going to close at year end.
Yeah, I love that. And it gets back to kind of that humility and curiosity. It's if you have the arrogance that you don't need it, that's a signal that you may not be the right person for that seat. You need to have the ability to learn and to grow, and role play is a great way to foster that. So, Phil, thank you for the actual insights. If our audience wants to take that next step to get to learn more about you, a book, a podcast, or your service, where should they go?
Well, so first, you can always email me. Super easy. Phil@philgerbyshak.com. GERBYSHAK. Phil@philgerbyshak.com, or find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. You put in Gerbyshak, you'll find me there. Or you can check out my new project that I'm testing out, because I believe mindset is the underutilized secret to better leadership and better sales, at mindsetbrew, BREW.com, mindsetbrew.com.
Oh, sweet. Well, Phil, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights, and look forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.